All right, welcome to the training 5 steps to 5K months. Let's dive right in. And if you are here with us live and you have questions, we'll hold those questions till the end. If you're watching the replay, I want you to actually engage as if you're watching live. One of my favorite things to watch my mentor do is deliver trainings. And every time I'm like, wow. And I literally act like I am in the audience. So let's dive right in. So today is all about 5K months. This is all about getting you from where you are now in your service based business to where you want to be. And typically, that first jump is from like a couple $100s a month to your first 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and ultimately getting to that $5,000 a month mark consistently, which is a $60,000 business. And I really want to break down for you how you can get there. And I'll share some of my story, I'll share some of my client stories so you can kind of resonate and see like what it really takes to get there. I promise you it's very simple. Obviously, it's not easy, or else everyone would just have a 60K business. Everyone would just be making $5,000 a month. But it really is relatively simple. When you realize, oh, these are the things I shouldn't be doing, these are the things I should be doing, then we can really dive in and start creating results. So, firstly, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you are new to me, my name's Cami. I'm an intuitive life and business coach. I've been full time in my business since 2020, right after getting fired. And I built my business from the first year. I made 27K. And then within 3.5 years, I got to $120,000 selling life coaching, general life coaching. I also sold some retreats and some trainings, but I really want to share with you like what is it that got me there, and I've been dissecting what I've done. I've been dissecting how to help my clients, and we're going to share that here together. So, if you're joining me here, this is probably where you're at. You are a holistic service provider or a service provider. When I say holistic, typically you are in the healing profession, right? So I work with a lot of intuitives, Reiki practitioners, sound healers, massage therapists. Maybe you're a spiritual coach. You offer something in the holistic healing space or the holistic health space. And you genuinely want to help people, right? Like, obviously, your heart is in it. One of the blocks you're having, though, is getting paid to help people. Now, you also know that you're good at what you do. A lot of my clients like are very passionate about what they do. They know they're good at it, but you're just not making the money you know you're capable of making yet. And there may be some blocks that you're very aware of, like visibility blocks, money blocks, but there may be some things you're not aware of. You might be overcomplicating things, you might be overthinking, you might be in perfectionism. And this typically is going to show up with inconsistency in your marketing. So you either forget about social media, you hate social media, or you're forgetting about networking. There's a lot of ways that this is going to show up, but it's just something that you'll see that you're not being consistent at. If you're feeling like frustrated or discouraged because you feel like you should be further along right now, this training is going to help you. And if you want to learn, you're like, okay, I know I need to learn sales and marketing, but I just don't want to feel sleazy. I don't want to feel pushy. I want to actually do it in a way that feels natural and aligned to me. If that's you, you are at the right training. I like to tell people a little bit about my human design, a little bit about my astrology. I forget, I just got an astrology reading, but I have 50% masculine, 50% feminine energy. And so that's very similar to what you'll need in the healing space. Like typically, if you're in the healing or holistic space, you have a beautiful energy. You're really good at providing a holistic service to someone, right? But that feminine energy tends to be soft, subtle, more of like, I'm just going to receive and allow people to come to me. But we really do need to activate that masculine energy, which is I get out there, I do the work, I get it done. I operate in the 3D realm to create 3D results. Because a lot of times with holistic practitioners, they will say something like, well, I just wish I could do this for free. I'm like, you actually can do it for free. You're free to do that. You can do it for free. You can do it for trade. You can do it for barter. You could trade chicken eggs. But there's a reason you're on this training. And probably the reason is you realize, oh, I need money to survive. I need money to pay my bills, my mortgage, my car. So we are not yet in a utopian world where everything is free and we can just like dance and play. We're not there yet, but we may be there eventually. But we have to operate within capitalism, right? So if there's anything we need to clear up around that, I also want you to set your intention of, in order for me to do my healing work, I'm going to need to operate within this current system, right? Like we are in a system where you exchange money for goods and services. And the quicker we can get clear on how that's okay, the more we can align the fact that good people, healers, spiritual people, people who are giving holistic solutions, they deserve to get paid, right? What we don't want to have is a whole bunch of people out there offering toxicity and like things that aren't really helping people. We don't want them having all the money. We want the healers to have the money. And I truly see a big shift happening, especially in these next 3 years, where people who you would never think are going to come into these healing spaces are now suffering either physically, psychologically, emotionally. They're going to need your healing services. So the better you get at getting out here, selling and marketing, the more opportunity you're going to have to be the helper of all the people who are going to be seeking it. Okay. Now, this training is not for you if you're looking for some kind of like quick hack or fix or like a social media strategy or something that's just going to work overnight. That is not the way business works, right? We have to have a long-term vision on business. If you're here, you really need to be dedicated that I'm doing this business for the next 5 years. I'm willing to take 5 years to get to that six-figure mark or whatever your goal is. This training is not for you if you're not willing to show up, be visible, have conversations, talk to people about your service, right? It won't work for you if you're like, no, I'm not willing to. And the last thing is, if you are not open-minded, right? If you are not willing to shift your mindset in the way you think about marketing and sales, then you won't get a lot out of this training. But if you're like, okay, I actually want to learn this. I want to learn how to be a natural, organic person that attracts clients, then I can teach you that today. All right. So those of you who don't know me, I if you've not been around for a while, this is my like second or third business, but I started originally in 2013. That's when I first got my website, GammyKennedy.com. Back then I was in health and fitness, and I really just started like helping people with nutrition coaching, health coaching, personal training. And I built that business up until $17,000 a year. And so that is about $1,400 a month. And eventually, I ended up closing that business. The reason why was twofold. Number one, I had got fired from my part-time job, and my business at the time wasn't able to sustain me, right? And a lot of you are in that situation where like if you're making around a couple $100 a month, $1,000 a month, like it's not yet sustaining you. But what I typically see is when you can get to about $60,000 a year, right, which is 5K months, that's typically something where you can actually start using that money. You can actually start like buying groceries with it, paying your rent with it. That's typically like the shifting point. So that's why I want this training to really be focused on making 5K months. But for me back then, I ended up shutting that business down. I went back to work for a year. So 2018, I shut that business down. I went back to full-time work in 2019 while I was building up the courage, the identity, the confidence to shift into life coaching. So I basically went from a health coach into a life coach. I went from coaching people only on their mindset, their health, their body, their physicality into coaching people on everything, right? So their wealth, their relationship, their love life, their spirituality. Like I really wanted to be able to coach people on everything. But it took me a full year of building up that belief, that identity. And then I ended up getting let go of that job in the end of 2019. And I said, okay, this is God telling me I'm supposed to go full time in my business. I joined a mastermind for 2020. At the end of that year, I reached 25K. The next year I reached 47K. The next year I reached 75K. And then in that like 3.5 year mark, I ended that fourth year at $120,000 in my business. So I really want to like paint the vision for you. If you are making like 25K or right, like you're making 12K, like $1,000 a month, I want you to like, first of all, think that's a miracle. Because the worst thing that's going to get in your way is like thinking it's not happening quick enough. That is just going to block you. So I share with you, like, it took me 4 years. It's okay if it takes a little bit of time. And in the meantime, if you need a part-time job, if you still have a full-time job, that's totally fine. Okay. So one of the things I just want to caution you is when we're in rushing energy, when we're in the energy of I need money today, that is the quickest way to turn off clients, to turn off sales. That's the quickest way to like feel sleazy because you're going to start feeling like you're desperate and clients can feel that. So we want to stay out of that. All right. Now, here's what I learned from building a six-figure business. I learned that it is not the most perfect or the most skilled or talented person who wins. It truly is the most consistent, resilient person. The person who can show up messy over and over again, fall down, get back up, get rejected, like have people tell you no, feel like an imposter, and keep going anyway. And so I want you to really think about if you're here, in order for you to have success, you've got to be willing to be seen, share your messy message, and keep going. And the more you share, the more you're seen, the more you practice, the better and better you get. And this is the work that I'm teaching my students inside of Abundant Business Mastermind. This is also what I work with my one-on-one clients on. And at the end of this training, I'll give you an opportunity to continue this work together so you know what it could be like to actually work together. But I really want to paint the vision for simplicity today, okay? Don't overcomplicate this. I'm going to give you simple mistakes. Then I'm going to give you simple solutions, the 5 steps to making 5K months. But let's really look at the 3 mistakes that I most often see, okay? The first one is perfectionism. Now, I work almost exclusively with high achievers, perfectionists, but even in the spiritual realm, there's something about feeling like you're going to be judged. So especially if you're teaching something, maybe you are more intuitive, maybe you do or do not have a certification in the thing. There is this sense of like imposter syndrome, perfectionism, like feeling like it has to be perfect in order for people to take you seriously. But here's what this looks like. Like, here's how you know if you're stuck in perfectionism. It's going to look like you like obsessing over your website, like trying to get a perfect website, overthinking social media where you're like, I should do this. I should be doing reels. I should be doing that. Should I be on TikTok? Like totally overthinking, but not actually posting. Spending hours in Canva or spending hours talking to ChatGPT. I've had clients before that they're telling me how they created this whole plan in ChatGPT. I'm like, yeah, but did you do any social media? Well, no, I created like a new program. I'm like, great. How is anybody going to know about that program if you're not out there selling and marketing it, right? So if you're spending any time behind a computer screen doing projects, this is a really good sense that you're like stuck in perfectionism and these are not income producing activities. Instead of being in perfectionism and procrastinating and doing other things, you have to move into like what I know today is good enough. What I have today to share is good enough. And there is a person out there that just wants me to show up messy and authentically, and they will want to work with me. And there was one time I had this client who she was like doing some local networking and she had a conversation with somebody, this guy who said something about business cards. And he was like, I always judge people by their business card. Like you have to have a good business card. It needs to be thick and solid or else I won't work with you. And she really let that like really block her. And for a while, she's like, I don't think I can make a business card because like this person said it needs to be this way. And first of all, I slowed her down and I asked her like, is that guy your ideal client? The answer was no. And I said, then why does his opinion matter at all? She's like, oh yeah, it doesn't. And then I said, okay, if you want a business card, let's just make one. So we literally sat down, made her a business card in less than an hour. She got it printed and then she had it at the next networking event. So the point is you actually don't even need the business card, but notice if there's any blocks where you're staying stuck in this perfectionistic mindset instead of just moving forward. And for her, after we did that, we got her out in the streets, we got her talking to people. Within 30 days of working together, she doubled her revenue and she was blown away. But it was because we started shifting out of like perfectionism and into income producing activities. Okay. Mistake number 2, hiding. Here's how you know if you're doing this. If you are waiting for clients to magically find you, right? You're in your house. And listen, I'm pretty much a virtual coach. That's how I started virtually. I do have an in-person office, but I don't see clients in person. I see clients virtually. So, for those of you who are virtual and you're like, oh, I do all my stuff virtually, just notice when you're hiding, like in your house, and notice if you're like putting yourself out there or not. And this is specifically, I think, something that comes up in the spiritual holistic space because like you probably have a niche, right? You're like, I do something that feels different or I don't know how to explain it. And like, I'm afraid people won't understand it. But I really want you to think about the people that are missing out on your service, the people you could be helping with your healing because you're afraid of what they're going to think. And I have two stories for you. The first story is I really like, I'm pretty good at the way I present myself. I can present myself very professionally. I can show up as a normal person in normal rooms, but I always want people to know that I've got a spiritual side. I have an intuitive side. But just recently, I would say in the past 4 years, right? Like since I really went full time in my business and I got my Reiki certification in 2021, I got certified as an intuitive and as a channel in 2021. And so over the past 3 or 4 years, I started saying, you know what? I want to just be my authentic self. So there has been times where I showed up in a networking meeting in person, wearing all my crystals, right? All my things. I started telling people, this is what I manifested. How cool is that? I also do Reiki. And it was so freeing for me just to say what I did and like let go of who thought what. And what was so amazing is people who I never would have thought started coming up to me afterwards. And one of them was like former military, like big guy, tall guy. He was just like, yeah, I've done a lot of energy work, energy healing. He ended up becoming my client for 6 months. I had another guy, again, like big tough guy. But he was wearing like crystal bracelets. He's like, yeah, like I do Reiki, I make bracelets. And I was like, wow, had I not shared that, had I not gone first and created safety for them, they wouldn't have known that like I'm a safe person to talk to that about. So I always want to be the person in the room who's courageous enough to say, hey, here's what I do, here's what I believe, here's how I work with clients. If you're into it, cool. If you're not, cool. The second story is I had a client who does energy healing and I told her it was like she's like this person who lives in a cabin in the woods. And how are people going to find you unless you leave the breadcrumbs, right? And the breadcrumbs is like some in-person marketing, some online marketing, some emails, like whatever it is. There's not just one way to do your marketing, but you have to lead people into finding you. They're not just going to find you through meditating and manifesting. Now they can, that's part of it, but that's 50% of it, right? We know that the law of attraction doesn't just like bring a new car to you. You actually have to like go to the car lot, like test drive the car. Then you've got to like do the paperwork. Those are the tangible 3D things that you've got to do to create that. And this client, when she learned, okay, I'm going to do an aligned marketing plan, I'm going to get more visible, I'm going to work through my visibility blocks, my money blocks, and I'm going to get out there. She went from making a couple $100 a month, $1,000 a month to almost $4,000 a month because she stopped waiting for people to find her and she started going out and connecting with people so that she could be seen and she could invite people in. All right, mistake number 3. These are all the internal blocks. So internal blocks are going to be things like imposter syndrome, money blocks, not feeling good enough, not feeling ready enough, rejection sensitivity, fear of somebody saying something negative to you, fear of what your family's going to think, right? This is just like all of the thoughts that go on the inside of you. This happens for everyone. And if you haven't ever heard this, one of the most freeing things that my very first business coach told me, this was back in 2016. She said, when you sign up to have a business, you have signed up to come against all of your limiting beliefs, all of your blocks. You've decided, I want to look at all of these because they are going to come up over and over again. So if this is happening to you, don't judge yourself. Just realize that this is part of the process of having a business. And I also believe that your business is a spiritual expander if you let it be, if you really lean in. So imposter syndrome's not a problem. Not feeling like you're ready, it's not a problem. If you can allow yourself to tap into your purpose enough to realize that there's people out there that need me to just do this good enough. And I'll give you an example. I was networking for probably 3 or 4 years in a local in-person networking group. And eventually Somebody came up to me from local government and said, "Hey, do you do leadership retreats?" And I said, "Yes, I do. Absolutely." Meanwhile, it had not been something I had done before, but I had done, workshops and like mini trainings. And I'm like, I could definitely put something together. So I said yes. I put together a proposal. I ended up pitching a $9,000 proposal. That person like went back and forth with me about the price. And I was like, this is the price. Here's why. And I ended up doing like a 4-part like retreat series with this group. And I kid you not, it was actually one of the most painful things I've ever done. And here's why. The whole time my brain was yelling at me, like, you're not good enough. You don't know what you're doing. These people don't even want what you have to offer. And I was just like my knees were shaking and like, just like, oh, this feels so bad. And also, I decided that it was okay. It was safe for me to allow those feelings in my body. It was safe for me to feel imposter syndrome. It was safe for me to say, my brain to yell at me and say, you're doing such a bad job. And then I literally walked that physical check to the bank and put that check in the bank for $9,000. So some of you are waiting to feel worthy or good enough, or you're thinking the imposter syndrome is going to go away. And what I know to be true is like the imposter syndrome is coming with you. You just have to be willing to override it. It's going to be there in your body. And the first dollars you make and the first retreats you do and the first speaking gigs you do and the first like programs you run, the whole time your brain's going to be yelling at you, probably telling you you're doing a bad job. But guess what? I made such a great relationship with like one of the local town officials, and we have a great relationship. He obviously thinks I did a great job. He refers me, he recommends me, like we're chill, we're like friends on Facebook. And I'm like, how cool is that I've developed this really strong relationship with this person who not only did I get the $9,000 from back then, I also have like a future referral partnership because I was willing to show up and say yes, because I was willing to figure it out, because I was willing to put a proposal together, put a pitch together, because I was willing to go through like the uncomfortable money conversation. And so for all of you, I know this is available for you, especially as a holistic practitioner. Like there's thousands of dollars on the line. Like it's not just your $100 an hour service. There's like multiple thousands of dollars on the line. There's contracts on the line. But all of this comes with developing what's called a self concept, like a deep self concept of knowing who you are, of knowing how you, what you offer and how important it is to the world. So if you're in any of those mistakes, just know I was there with my first fitness coaching business. I had all of these things. I was like so stuck in my head so many times, and it would lead to me like disappearing, hiding, not being consistent, judging myself, judging others. So don't worry. If you're like stuck in some of these things right now, it's not because you're not capable. It's not because you're not talented. It's just because of the perfectionism, the hiding, the internal blocks. But you seeing them and seeing how they're keeping you for more revenue is the first step. And when you start implementing the 5 steps to creating 5K months, you will see a shift in your business. So let's go right into it. What are the 5 steps to creating 5K months? The number one thing is meeting people with your magnetic authority energy. So magnetic authority is something that I came up with. Who knows if somebody else talks about it, but I came up with this to mean we align your marketing strategy and your energy with your human design and with your money archetypes. When you have these, like the magnetic energy of who you actually are, and then you have authority. And for some of you, you're like, oh, I don't like authority. I don't like authority either. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. But authority energy is teacher energy. It's leader energy. People only want to buy from people who are certain. And I'll give you an example. If you ever, for God forbid, you ever had to like have a surgery with a brain surgeon. Imagine the brain surgeon was like, I think I can do this. Probably. I've done a couple. Like, I don't, there's definitely better people out there. I'm not sure. Like, if that brain surgeon came to you with that energy, you'd be like, absolutely not. You want the brain surgeon who's like, I know how to do this. I've done it before. I can help you. Absolutely. You have nothing to worry about. It's the same thing with your energy healing. It's the same thing with your holistic practice. You want to be the authority on what you deliver. This means that you're clear and confident in communicating what you do. That means you're not salesy, right? You're not like overly pushy, overly explaining. because you're thinking they don't want what you have. So you're like trying to, or they don't understand it. So you're overly explaining. And then you're not doing the other thing, which is like being too quiet, too shy, like thinking they don't want this, hiding in the corner. And the way we get this magnetic authority is by practicing your message and how to talk about what you do clearly. The only way we can do this is if we get out there in person, online, and start sharing. And the other way we do this is we do this in rooms where it feels safe. So with my clients inside of the mastermind, this is part of what we do is you're in a safe container to start practicing saying what you do clearly and concisely. So when you go out into the real world with real people, you don't feel so shut down or you don't feel like you're overly explaining. So you need to meet people with your magnetic authority energy. Your energy is what attracts clients. Number 2, you've got to be building relationships simply because it's fun and you like it, and also being strategic. And something that I was just helping one of my clients with was networking with other people in her industry. And let's just say, for an example, I don't do any networking with other coaches. It doesn't make any sense because they're going to have their own clients. Sure. Could they be referral partners? Maybe. But that doesn't make any sense because here's what happens when you network with other people in your field who are at the same level as you and do the same thing. Typically, there will be a like, well, I want to get the client energy, or it'll be like, I want you to become my client energy, or it'll become like, we're just commiserating on how nobody likes to buy things and things are so hard right now. So I typically don't find value in networking with people in my exact industry. Now, I network with people in my paid containers. Like I am part of a group coaching program that my coach puts on. I'll network over there, but it's because I'm getting taught something. And it's because we're all colleagues, we're all supporting each other, we're all learning the same thing together. So that is where I network, but I'm not going to coaching groups to meet other coaches. It doesn't make any sense. And so for you, just notice if you're doing that, where you're going to other holistic groups, but none of you are actually moving forward together. You're kind of just staying stuck at the same level. So I like to think of building relationships that you like, right? Finding common ground. They don't all need to be spiritual. They don't all need to be holistic. There's so many times where I just sat and talked to people about their chickens, or I talked to people about their kids, or I asked where they used to live. And I just decided I wanted to be the person who they could talk to. I found things that I thought was enjoyable to ask them questions about. And then I also would get strategic and think about who would share an audience with me. So for example, people who would share an audience with me would be anybody who works with high achievers, anybody who works with perfectionists. So typically I'm going to work with other business consultants, financial advisors, therapists, right? They're going to be able to refer people to me. I also will be strategic as I'm networking with people. If I'm like, ooh, I want to be on their podcast, or I want to be seen with them, or I want to do a collaboration together. So it's fun and it's strategic. You have to have a long-term mindset when building your relationships. A lot of times what will happen is you'll go to these networking events, you'll be like, it's not working, and then you will stop going. The relationships that I've cultivated took 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But on the back end of that is like $20,000. So you want to let yourself enjoy the process, be the magnetic energy, and build those relationships. Enjoy connecting with people, bring value to them, and say yes to things, right? Like if they're like, hey, can you do this? Say yes. If they invite you to speak, say yes. If they invite you to do something, say yes, right? The more opportunities you can get in front of people, let them kind of give an experience of what it's like to work with you, the more opportunity it's going to be for them to actually reach out. Okay. All right. Number 3, making offers. This is where I see most people not making enough offers. So an offer is online or in person, and it could be very simple. Here's how I can help. The offer should be engaging, right? Like if you need help with this, here's where you can find me. Some offers should also be very direct, like an introduction. Here's who I am. Here's what I offer. Here's how to work with me. Here's open spots I have. Here's the price, like direct offers. And then there's something called mini offers, where you invite people into maybe a mini workshop, an online virtual thing, a way to get people in, and then a way for you to keep doing this over and over again. So it's like, have you done this daily? Have you done it multiple times? Have you reiterated it? Have you kept going? Because again, I see people go hard for 2 weeks. They're like, I made offers for 2 weeks. I'm like, really? We need to have a 5 year mindset. How many offers do you think it takes? And what I always tell my clients, I teach this in the mastermind, is I say it takes 27 touch points and 7 meaningful interactions. So 27 touch points is like they see you on social, they see you in person, they say hi, they get an email from you, they get a text from you, like 27 times. It takes for them to like remember who you are and what you have to offer. And then it takes 7 of those to be meaningful interactions. And meaningful could be simple, like you just had a deep conversation, or you commented on their story, or you commented on something, or you sent them a message that I was thinking about you, or you shared something to them in a way that felt meaningful for them. You don't know what's going to feel meaningful, which is why you just got to keep putting out offers, keep connecting, and keep going. And in the meantime, don't let any of it drain you. It's actually really easy. If you're not being dramatic about it in your head, it's actually really easy. And I want you to think about it being much easier than working a full-time 9 to 5 that you do not like. Okay. Number 3, making enough offers. Number 4, you've got to believe in making 5K today. 5K today, 5K this month, signing a client today. When I see clients, especially holistic or spiritual, sometimes they are like falsely positive. And false positivity looks like this. It looks like, I know everything's working out for me. Like things are going really well. I'll like sign clients eventually. Like it's going to work out eventually. And part of what I teach inside of my programs is how you make money with your mind and having a future focus, like, oh, it'll happen one day. That always means that the money is going to be put off into the future. What we need to do is put our brain to work on how can this happen this month? How can this happen today? How can this happen this week? And then we create strategies, systems, creative solutions of ways to market. And that is how we challenge ourselves to create the money this month. Now, a lot of people don't like the discomfort of like, ooh, I have a money goal. But I want you to think about when you have a money goal, the direct side effect is I've helped more people. So the money goal is the thing that inspires you, that guides you, that pulls you forward to say, okay, I'm going to create more value. I'm going to create more offers. I'm going to send more emails. I'm going to do more invites because there are people suffering out there and I have something that can help them because your money goal is directly related to how many people you're helping. So it's okay to decide, you know what, I'd rather just say, you know what, I really want to have 5 clients this month. I want to have 20 clients this month. It's okay to focus on the clients, but then you go to work to create a way to bring those clients in. And you do this by creating transformation, creating value ahead of time. And then the other thing here is we might need to look at some of your offers. So a lot of clients come in with a holistic service that's maybe around $100, $150. I want you to really think about having a package that's like $500 or $1,000. It's obvious when we look at math that like if we have a higher price package, not only is that going to help the client stay consistent, right? They're coming back for more of the work. They're coming back for more of the service. It's going to help them get a better result. It's also going to help you reach your money goal. And what I say about healers is I'm like, okay, if you are in this holistic healing field, you're really helping people in a natural, organic way. You have to be able to eat food. You got to be able to live. You got to be able to drink clean water. You got to be able to drive your car. And those are all the things that create safety and security for you to do your healing work in the world. So it is okay for you to make money. It is actually imperative for you to make money in order to keep doing your work in the world. Okay. And then number 5, we've got to overcome the internal blocks. So if you want to get to 5K months, we have to quickly overcome the internal blocks. When I first started in my first health coaching business, I like my resilience was so low. I would like have a launch. I remember this one time I launched this program. I had paid like $300 to get the website done. I felt like I was like talking about the program for like 6 weeks, really, really doing a lot. And I signed either 1 or 2 clients or 0. I don't remember because I've had a couple launches where I haven't signed. But I remember emotionally it took me out. It took me out for like 3 months. I was just basically like, doesn't matter. Nobody wants this. I did so much work. It didn't work. And I was like, I like couldn't almost function for 3 months. So what we need to do is get better at resilience about bouncing back. Get over failure, get over rejection, get over like it didn't work and everybody hates me. And we need to learn how to evaluate and go again. Get back on the bike. Get up, go again. Figure out what do I think happened? What do I want to do next time? So this is going to take your creativity, your persistence, your resilience, your ability to overcome imposter syndrome, to get over those feelings of like frustration, disappointment, rejection. And then we need to evaluate and go again. Your whole business is a grand experiment. And what I do with my clients is I have a system, I have a process I take them through. And also, your job as the CEO of your business is to get creative and try different things. We don't know until we know. And we have a lot of different people that I work with that are doing things like in person, or they're doing referrals. Some of them are doing webinars. Some people are doing in-person speaking gigs. So there's not just one way, but we have to be doing multiple things in order to get those results. And for most of you, you're not doing enough of any of this. And that's okay. I just want to show you here. Like this week, I already looked at like what I did. I had a photo shoot on Monday. I recorded 2 podcasts this week. I am doing this training this week. I also have a networking event tomorrow. I did another networking event. Like I did something every single day for my business. And I found that like if I look back at me and my other business, I was being very loosey goosey about networking. I was being very loosey goosey about offers, and I wasn't doing enough of it. So it was like, duh, it was like, yeah, that's why I didn't have the money coming in. So I want to show you these things. And then I want to show you, okay, this is all we need to solve. So if you're like, okay, deep breath, I can do this. It's actually not that hard. There's a system. It works. And when I learned like these 5 things, my business, like it went very quickly, because that first year, I was like, I didn't learn this. I didn't have this exactly. But then I hired my coach who I've been with for 5 years. I learned these things. And every time I could almost double my revenue every single year. And then I also learned like, okay, when your revenue drops or something goes wrong or something fails, I learned how to bounce back quickly. That is really what you need. That is the foundation of the work that we do inside of Abundant Business Mastermind. So here I want to pause. If you have any questions, you can type them in. I'll answer them at the end. But I want to make sure that you got everything you needed. It makes sense. And then we'll shift gears. We'll talk about how to continue this work together, because Abundant Business Mastermind is opening up for another round, another cohort starting in May. So here's what it is. Abundant Business Mastermind is a 16-week, so it's 4 months. It's a group coaching container. And it has an opportunity for you to connect and collaborate. So in this group, this round is going to be holistic practitioners. So I separate them between if you have a traditional service-based business. So let's say real estate, let's say interior decorator, let's say like a marketing service or a consultant or coach. If you are a traditional like mainstream business, I'll put you in one group. If you are a spiritual or holistic business, I put you in another group. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I'm not a holistic business, don't worry. I have other containers where you can come inside. So real estate agents, like all of that, because the marketing will be a little bit different. When you're selling something that's energetic, that is spiritual, we market in a subtly different way, right? Because it is a holistic energy-based thing. And sometimes it's more challenging because it is like the results, especially with like the results of Reiki or sound healing, it's more of an intangible thing. Oh, you'll feel better. Well, what does that mean exactly? So what we do inside of the holistic container is really get clear on what those specifics are. And then what we do on the traditional mastermind container is we get clear on like what sets you apart. Especially when I've worked with like real estate agents, I always joke, I'm like, y'all look the same, meaning all you do is put a picture on a sign and I'm supposed to pick you based on your picture. So what I do with my clients who are in mainstream, right, and they're in a field that maybe has a lot of competitors, is like, what makes you different? And I had one of my real estate clients who she was a former lawyer, and she also only worked with sellers, and she also was like the chillest person ever. And so we started marketing her as the former lawyer, the chillest, easiest person to gonna help you sell your house. We just do text messages, and like she got her market that way, and she typically worked with like single males in military. So we figured out who that she needed to work with. And then we figured out a way to get those through referrals. Okay. So inside of this mastermind, we work together for 4 months, and it's really designed to help you get through the mindset, the messaging, the marketing, and the sales. So everything we talked about today, so that you can get a plan to create 5K months. So people coming into this container are typically sitting around like $500 to $1,000 a month, or maybe up to like $1,500 a month. And their goal is like, okay, I really want to get to 3K, 4K, 5K months. So what's included in here? We have, and remember, a mastermind is a coming together, a meeting of minds. So I like to think of it as collaboration, and I like to think of it as fluid in the way that we do it. So I have a complete outline that I can share with you, and I'll review it here shortly. I'll share my screen. But we have an outline of the things we're going to work through. And then, based on the needs of the group, I might pop in, rearrange some things, ask you what you need so that you all get what you need. Every round will be a little different. Each person will be a little bit different, and we'll make sure that you collectively get everything you need. But essentially what it is it's foundationally group coaching calls. So inside the program, we meet on Zoom every week. Every time we meet, there will be a teaching. So there will be approximately 30 minutes of teaching. Then we'll have 30 minutes of coaching. If we have more time for coaching, sometimes we'll lean into that. Sometimes we might lean into a little bit more teaching. But just know I keep the container under 10 people so that you're able to get your questions answered. You're able to get coaching on your specific thing. So the group coaching is where you get unstuck fast, you take aligned action fast, and you can also be sharing ideas with what's working with one another within the group. The second thing is we learn your sales and marketing. So if you are a person who does consultations, I will teach you consultations and we'll do evaluations on those consultations. If you're a person who has direct message conversations, then we're going to make sure that we review what are you saying and what did they say and how did that go? Because any of those touch points where people are reaching out to you, we want to make sure we're evaluating those and we're framing it around sales psychology and you're saying simple and clear. A lot of times what my clients are doing, like when somebody reaches out to them, they're sending them a long email and I'm like, calm down, keep it short, keep it easy so you can keep your clients moving through the process. We don't want you to feel overly excited. You don't want to brain dump on them. You don't want to feel pushy, but we also want to make sure we can get them to the next step, right? Whether that's booking a consult call, whether that's getting to your website, whatever it is, we want to teach you how to handle objections, have conversations, and really what it is creating safety for people to reach out to you. Because when you can create connection, this is the foundation of your consistent income. The third thing is we work on your messaging. So your messaging is what's going to come through when you're telling people verbally what you do. You don't want to you don't want to word vomit over things. We want to start using our brain in a way that is clear and concise. So what I do throughout the course is I give you content prompts. I'll give you things to think about so you can use for journaling and creating captions. I also give you some ChatGPT prompts, not for captions, not for copy, because I don't want you to copy and paste, but I give it to you through this program called Magnetic Marketing. And in there, we use your human design, we use your money archetypes to create the best marketing strategy for you. And then what I do on each call is I make sure you're in alignment with that strategy. I answer any questions and I help you turn your ideas into client attracting content or containers or masterclasses or webinars, whatever it is you want to do. Remember, you don't have to be doing anything online. Some people exclusively build their business in person. But what I tell to people who are like, I'm not doing anything online, I'm like, what we need to do then is at least set up your Instagram and your Facebook, set it up like a website, has all the Q&A, has everything they could need. You don't need to be consistent on it, but why wouldn't you be? Right? Now, if you're still working through visibility, we want to baby step your way into it. But if you come into this program, I'm obviously going to challenge you because in order for you to make 5K months, you're going to need to be challenged because what you're doing now is keeping you exactly where you are right now. I will lovingly challenge you. The fourth thing we work on is obviously the mindset and the self-concept, right? Who you are being. When you can overcome perfectionism, imposter syndrome, procrastination, overthinking, anxiety, like anything that has you out of the flow, when we can get you back in that aligned energy, then you're taking aligned action. That is when clients are magnetized to you. Now, you do not need to feel 100% all the time. Like I've shared with my clients, there's been times where I've had burnout, I've had breakdowns, I've had a panic attack, but I still knew how to show up for my coaching. I still knew how to show up for my marketing. I could still write emails. So that is the thing that enables you to create consistency. And consistency starts with momentum. So the first thing we do is we start with momentum, we build it, then we sustain it. So when you sustain that consistency, clients trust you, then they come to you. The next thing is we use your aligned marketing strategy. We talked about that. That is a bonus. That's a bonus 2-week course inside the program. You go in there, you take your quizzes, you learn your human design, you learn your money personalities, and then you'll get a chat GPT prompt that tells you like, oh, these are the strategies that are most natural to me. So that your marketing is not going to feel like forcing, right? We want it to feel easy. We want it to feel authentic to you. The other bonus things about being in a mastermind is you get the community part, but it's strategic, right? So I said, we don't just want to sit around and talk to people in our industry. We want to be growing together, working on the same things together. And then maybe there is a collaboration. Maybe there is a podcast interview you can do together, but you're moving forward with the same goals. You're elevating. And you always want to be around people who are elevating because typically, right, we're the combination of the 5 people we're most around. Wouldn't you want to be in a community of 5 or more people who are all aligning their thoughts, their energy, their momentum with making more money, with making 5K months, right? A lot of times what happens, especially in our local communities, people will get jealous, then it gets weird. So we need to have a place that is safe wherever we can talk about money, we can talk about our healing work, we can create bigger packages, we can make more money, and nobody's judging us. Because a lot of times there's money blocks in the healing communities and it kind of like bleeds over depending on who you're talking to. So you want to make sure you're in communities who are like, you know what? I deserve to get paid. It's okay for me to get paid. This is an alignment, right? I'm not taking advantage of anybody. This is valuable. People want this. We want that energy in the group. And then obviously the other outcome is accountability and momentum, right? When you have a weekly call, you know you're going to show up for. You also get to share your weekly wins. A lot of times our brain will tell us it's not working quick enough, I don't know, I'm not making enough money. We want to consistently share your wins, get that momentum. Then we want to evaluate anything that's not working. Then we want to reiterate and go again. And when you do this consistently, this is how you create consistent income. We want to audit anything that's not working, and you become a person who starts tracking your money. I know for a lot of us in the beginning, this was totally me, totally disorganized. And I'll even say up to 100K, still disorganized. So like you can build your business to 6 figures and still be disorganized and like kind of figuring it out still. So you don't have to be perfect with spreadsheets. You don't have to be perfect with numbers, but we do need to see what money's coming in because how are we going to know if we're getting to 5K if we're not adding it all together? So this is another thing I help to track you down. We help to sit down together and get those numbers together so you can track your revenue as it comes in. And here's what we have for you. So if you join in April, there's a couple specials for you. If you join in April, you actually get a bonus one-on-one coaching call. So you can use that in April before we even start. The start date of this mastermind is May 11th, 2026. We go from May 11th the whole way through August. So you have a little bit of time to join, but here's why I say do it now. When you are in the energy of momentum and action, number one, you're energetically aligned, which means your clients will be energetically aligned. I always say that typically what happens is whatever our clients' objections are, they usually mirror our own. So if your clients are telling you, ooh, I don't want to pay $200 for this sound healing or this massage or whatever it is, typically you might agree with them and be like, yeah, I can't pay for things either. So I want you to really think about what it means for you to take your business seriously. And I get it because I've been investing in my business for over 10 years. But the one huge investment I made was I joined a $25,000 mastermind. I know, $25,000 for 6 months. And I remember for the longest time, I was like, absolutely not. I can never do that. I can't do it. I can't do it. And then I found a way that I could do it. She offered a payment plan. The payment plan was still a big stretch. It was $4,000 a month. But because I had the stretch, it made me figure out a way to make that money. And I cash flowed the entire thing, meaning I didn't have to take out debt. I didn't have to put it on a credit card. One time to borrow my husband's credit card to make the payment. But then within a week, I had like another client pay and I was able to pay off that credit card. So I want you to just really think about when you have what I would call an alignment pressure, right? There might be a little bit of money pressure. There might be a little bit of uncertainty with investing, but then it makes you take it seriously. What I see a lot of times is like, You're like, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I want more money, but I'm good. There has to be enough discomfort to make you want to do the extra stuff, to make you want to get more visible, to show up in a different way, to really like step into imposter syndrome, because that's what will be required of you is to step into courage. So when you invest in yourself, you're aligning with the energy of courage and alignment. Now, this program is normally $1,000. So $1,000 pay in full. But because you're on this training today, you get something special. If you join in the month of April, you actually get this program for $777. So I'm going to share my screen with you right now so you can see exactly where we are. And you have this in your email right now. You have the link in your email to go sign up. But here's what it is. It shows you here. This is everything it is. We go from May 11th to August 31st. This is for people who are making an average of like $1,000 a month or close to it. And then it shows you everything that we're getting here. When you come down here, you can see the investment is normally $1,000 pay in full, $275 per month for 4 months, but you have this early enrollment price. When you enroll before April 30th, you get $300 off. So it's $777 pay in full. And when you pay in full, you get that bonus one-on-one call. So we can do a call together in April. Then you'll be ready whenever we kick off together in May. You can also get that promo for the payment plan. So the payment plan takes about $50 off. If I'm doing the math right, or $27 off. I'm not doing math in my head. All you need to do is use this code early in the checkout, and it's going to automatically take it off. If you want to review anything here, this is just showing you what's already in the portal. So the way this program works is everything is taught live. But because I've been teaching and coaching and doing so many programs over the years, I decided to give you some extra bonuses in here. So you can log in right away and go into the money mindset modules. You can go into marketing the easy way. You can go in and learn spiritually aligned selling. I have 19 bonuses and workshops in here. You also have bonus breathwork recordings. You also have bonus replays whenever I taught this before in 2025. So you can dive in right away and already start implementing and learning and taking action. And you can also check out the schedule here. If you click on view this module, this is going to show you the schedule, everything we're doing over the next 4 months. And you also get a bonus to my breathwork virtual program. So if you've never experienced breathwork with me, it's optional, but it's highly recommended for you to do this. Breathwork, holotropic breathwork, is a way for you to release some of those deep emotions, some of that fear, some of that scarcity, from some of the rejection, whatever you're afraid of. We go into a breathwork session, we somatically release, and you can do it from the comfort and safety of your own room. So this, it's a $188 value, and you get access to that Resilient AF breathwork when you sign up. So all you'll do to sign up is you'll come here, click the sign up button, you'll put your name and information in. When you're enrolling early, you'll type in the code early, and it's automatically going to take that off for you. And then you can do credit card, PayPal, and then you just click everything here, agree to the terms, and you pay that $777, and you are good to go. So from here, what I'd love to do is see if there's any questions that we can answer. And I will drop this link in the chat as well, so that you can click right over and sign up with us. Now, if some of you are still like, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's for me, you can always book a consultation with me. I'm happy. Like, I want people that join something, especially a group, I want them to feel amazing about it. I want to feel amazing about it. I want to feel like everybody's going to fit in together and it's going to be great. So if you're like, I'm still not sure, then you can go ahead and book a consult with me. I just dropped that in the chat as well. You go to camikennedy.vip. The consultation will just review your business. We'll see where you at with your numbers. What are your biggest pain points? And then I will tell you truthfully, like, does it make sense for you to be in this mastermind? So especially for those of you who are like, ooh, like my revenue's lower, or I have a little bit different industry, come have a conversation with me. I'm happy to do that. Super happy to do that. I love giving free consults because I think clarity is one of the most valuable things. And I love when I get to talk to people about their business. So a couple of questions here. A lot of times people will ask, like, well, what if, like, how do they know if they're holistic business? What I'll say is if the thing you're selling is more in the lines of energy healing, holistic, nutrition coaching, like anything that's in the realm of that, if you're not sure if you're holistic, or let's say you're just like a spiritual person, but you're a real estate agent, we can talk about what that could look like and which mastermind would be best for you. So I'd prefer to know, like, I probably prefer to have a consultation with you, have those questions. Another people thing that people ask is what happens with the replays? So if I can't make the calls, do I get the replays? Yes. So you get access to the replays. The replays go inside your portal. They go in there within 24 hours, super easy. You log in, you can watch the replays. With the mastermind, when you sign up, you get some like those bonus things, you get bonus access. But when the mastermind is over, you no longer have access to the portal. And the reason why is because I run the mastermind several times a year. So the best thing for you to do is to come back in the mastermind, come back into another round. We do it live together. Because typically what I see is people will, and I've seen this time and time again. There's a couple of colleagues of mine, like I made six figures, and then there's colleagues of mine, like 6, 7 years later, who I don't even know what their revenue is, but they're not at six figures. And they're always like asking me how I got here. I'm like, well, how I got here was not by just investing in one course and then like living inside that course for years. There's people that will invest in, like, there's colleagues of mine that were in the same course. The course was $2,000. We invested in it 5 years ago, but they never went to the next step. They never went to the next level. They never went to the $25,000 mastermind. That is where I learned all of these skills. So I say this to say a lot of people will try to like get the most bang for their buck, but what they're doing is they're keeping themselves small. They're keeping themselves like in the energy of like, well, I don't have money. I guess I'm just going to have to stay here. And then you will stay there. So I want to encourage you to come back for the next round of the mastermind. And so if you look at this, if it's 4 months, you could do 3 rounds of the mastermind, or you can take a couple months off, then you could come back to the next round. But I do this because I would love to see you back in the container, not for me, but for you. Because each time you revisit this, you're going to be at a different level of mastery. You'll be at a different level of revenue. And so you have access to the portal and all the replays for the 4 months that you're in the mastermind. And 4 months is equal to 16 weeks. And over that time, we do 14 calls. Now, for those of you who are like, I don't know that I can make all the calls, or I can make some of them, or what if I can't make the calls? The way we deal with that is number one, you can always email me in like, hey, here's what I'm dealing with. Here's my question. I'll address it on the call. I'll just coach as if you were there, and I'll be like, hey, so and so put this question in. I want to make sure I address it. I want to make sure I answer it. And then I will teach it why, like, what are the decisions? Why am I telling you this coaching? Who's it for? Because the collaboration energy is really great when you're in the room with other people. But what's also really great is knowing, like, who is this for and when, right? Like, why would I say it one time? Because one of the things that we can do, is we use the coaching against ourselves. And we're like, well, Cami said this. I'm like, well, it's not always the same coaching, depending on where you're at, depending on what your reasoning is. But if you can't make the calls, write in. It's not a worry. You'll still gonna get the value. And I'll tell you, when the mastermind I joined, which had a portal, all I did for like the first 3 months was watch replays. And I ended up like making so much money. It was actually 6 months. I remember actually I joined 6 months early. I got access to the replays, and then we started the live mastermind 6 months later. Over that 6 month period was when I made my six figures. I like doubled my revenue in that 6 months just from watching the replays. So the replays are highly valuable, listening to them every day, implementing them, right? Not just learning, but implementing them. And then if you all are wondering about timing of this round, the specific one that's starting on May 11th, the time is going to be 4:30 p.m. Eastern. 4:30 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. And the way I do this is I choose it based off of the people who join. So the earlier you join, the more opportunity you have to influence the schedule. But I already have people joined. We've already chosen the date and time. So it would behoove you to make the time work. And even if you can't make the time work, you can get access to the replays. And I promise you, it will still be just as valuable. So again, implement these 5 things in your business. If you're like, I'm ready to make 5K months, I'm ready to get out of my own way, then the Abundant Business Mastermind is the thing for you. And if there's any questions I haven't addressed, I don't see any more questions coming into the chat. If there's any questions I haven't addressed, email me. Head over to hello@camikennedy.com. Or if there's any questions I haven't addressed, book a consult. I'm happy to talk to you, especially when you're like, oh, I don't know, like $1,000, right? It's only $777 when you do early enrollment. But if you are having any questions, any concerns at all, you want to make sure you feel solid about it, we can have a conversation on a consultation. I'm happy to do that. But some of you are already ready to go. And if that's you, don't wait. Seriously, don't wait. One of those things about imposter syndrome and questioning yourself and moving in magnetic authority is being able to make aligned decisions, because that is what you're going to be asking your clients to do. They're going to be coming to you for some type of healing or some type of challenge. You're going to present to them your numbers. Their first objection might be price. And you can be like, I understand. I know. Like, it is a lot of money. I understand. And do you want the result? And do you want a transformation? And do you want to feel better? So this is the same thing. Anytime we invest is like, do we want the result bad enough? And if the answer is no, don't invest. Because I've had students in the past where they had a short-term mindset and they were flustered because they expected to make $5,000 in 30 days. Now, listen, it's possible. I always give possibility. But remember, long-term mindset is the thing where you stay calm, where you stay focused, where you keep going. But I've had students that had the wrong mindset, couldn't get the results, freaked out, and then I don't know what they did with their business, but I know they're not making money. So we cannot be in this like panic energy. Now, if you're trying to decide whether or not to get a job, whether or not to go back to work, part-time work, I'll help you with that in the mastermind too. Again, a lot of my clients still have a full-time job or have a part-time job. That is okay. But what we don't want to do is panic about our revenue. So the people who are best fit for this program, they have a long-term mindset. They are committed. They're like, I am meant to do this work. I want to do this work, and I want to figure out how to learn sales and marketing. I know I have a skill. I know I'm gifted. I know my service is great, but I know I need to learn sales and marketing. I know I need to learn how to show up consistently on social media or in person. I know I have money blocks, imposter syndrome, perfectionism. Like, I know I kind of am aware of my blocks, and I'm willing to start moving through them. I'm willing to be challenged for the highest good of myself and for my business. So if that is you, you'll be a really great fit for the mastermind, and it will be beautiful to spend the next 4 months together doing this work. And honestly, it feels like play. It feels like such alignment, like such a gift that this is what we get to do. So I will see you inside the mastermind, or I will see you on a consultation call. Bye for now.